Rand Paul says the COVID-19 era policies should have never been issued. What else the junior senator had to say about state and national politics coming up. After a number of violent incidents at several facilities, Kentucky lawmakers are looking at ways to change the Department for Juvenile Justice.
And our air remains cold even as rain, sleet, and snow move out. The latest breakdown on chilly air coming up as Mountain News at 6 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
Kentucky's junior Senator Rand Paul sat down with us this morning. We asked him about topics ranging from COVID to the flooding in eastern Kentucky. WYMT's Dakota Makris has the interview.
President Joe Biden's administration plans to end the COVID-19 public health emergency on May 11th. Senator Rand Paul says he believes it should have never been issued.
When you have a president, and this actually happened under both Biden and Trump, they both declared emergencies. I'm not really for that. I think the Congress comes together and votes on things. That's what happens in a representative democracy or a constitutional republic.
Paul says the public health emergency added to the nation's debt.
COVID is out there, but it's become over time less dangerous. Most people have had it. Most people have had a vaccine and or the disease or both. And so at this point in time, I think we're doing much better and we don't need to be shutting the economy down.
With the new session underway, he will be the Republican leader on the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, which handles national security and government oversight issues.
I have met with the Democrat chairman, though, and I'm trying to convince him that we should look at the origins of COVID virus. I think it leaked from a lab in Wuhan. 6 million, maybe some people estimate as much as 15 million people died worldwide.
Closer to home, Paul says he was impressed with the state legislature's response to last summer's flooding. He says he believes the federal government should prioritize its money like the state.
Frankly, I have a lot of people come up to me in eastern Kentucky as I travel and say, you know what? We'd rather money be spent here at home than send it to Ukraine. And it's not that I don't have sympathy, but my responsibility is to the American people and to Kentucky.
Looking forward to serving the country for years to come. Dakota Makris, WYMT Mountain News.
Paul says he believes the current inflation we are seeing could lead to a recession within the next year. We now know that at least one man is dead following a crash this morning in Breathitt County. The crash involved two vehicles on Highway 15 near Brewers Drive. The road was temporarily closed, but it is reopened a short time later. The name of the man who died has not been released, but we do know that the crash is still under investigation and a reconstruction is pending. Public support is declining across the country for capital punishment. Kentucky still allows the death penalty. Executions have been on hold for more than a decade, with 26 people on death row. Death row inmates include Ralph Bays, who killed Powell County Sheriff Steve Bennett and Deputy Arthur Briscoe in 1992. Their friends and family members say they're waiting on justice that was promised by a judge and jury.
30 years plus on death row isn't the life I would envision for myself. So he's being punished, but justice to me still hasn't been carried out and won't be until there's an execution date set.
State lawmakers have filed bills to abolish the death penalty. Tonight at 11 on WYMT, Garrett Weimer investigates the past, present, and future of capital punishment in the Commonwealth. Republican lawmakers are calling for changes within the Department for Juvenile Justice. It comes after a number of violent incidents at several facilities, including a riot at the Adair County Detention Center in Columbia last fall. Governor Beshear also spent a good chunk of his Team Kentucky briefing talking about reforms today. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what was discussed.
Republican members of the House and Senate say a work group has wrapped up meetings on what can be done to fix problems at juvenile detention centers.
One of the main things that I feel like we need to address immediately is a change in leadership within DJJ.
It comes after several staff members were hurt and a teenager was gang raped in Adair County. There's been other problems in Louisville and in western Kentucky facilities. And most recently, former employees filed a federal lawsuit alleging offenders being neglected and abused.
We must have access to all employees. Now, the governor says that he's not standing in the way of access, okay? But what the staff tell us is they don't feel comfortable, that they feel like their ability to speak with us is hindered.
Lawmakers did commend the governor on separating male and female offenders and more serious offenders from less serious, but they're calling on more to be done.
We need an independent party to come and do an inspection of these facilities, give a full report of what's going on, what's gone on, what's the morale like.
Governor wants lawmakers to approve a sustainable $50,000 entry-level salary for frontline workers. That and some capital improvements would require budgetary legislative approval.
Do that, but we have seen improvement in our numbers in the Department of Corrections when we got closer to that $50,000 mark.
All of this comes as lawmakers say some offenders are becoming more hardcore and violent.
Pertinent information to this is the gang relationships and the violence that these gangs perpetuate. And this is spread throughout the state as these kids go to different centers.
Bashir also said youthful offenders need to qualify for bail, just like adults receive from courts. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
The legislature could look at the proposals when they reconvene next week.
Well, still looking wintry in spots and feeling wintry everywhere as we watch cold air sneak into the mountains yet again tonight, but better weather is on the way. Here's a look outside right now from Buffalo Mountain, and you can still see some of the rain, sleet, or at least the freezing rain, sleet, and snow on some of the trees up in Buffalo Mountain, southern Perry County. Temperatures, yes, above freezing, but a rather gloomy appearance there. A hint of a sunset there above the horizon there, just above the horizon. You can kind of see that in Wise as well. 32 with the lights on at the campus at this hour. Most of us are in the 30s. We had a few 40s try to sneak in along the Kentucky-Tennessee border, but everybody's in the 30s. We'll continue to see things dry tonight. Pinpoint Doppler's a clean sweep. Outside of maybe a shower south of Jacksboro, that's about it. All of the activity with this particular system is staying to our south. Drier air is filtering in. The cloud line back towards the Ohio River. So as we head toward tonight, I think we'll slowly clear out and drop temperatures big time. 25 a low tonight as we watch cold air filter in from the north thanks to a weak little front. Now, I'll have the very latest details on when we return to some let's say milder weather in a few minutes. Olivia?
Thank you, Evan. Schools in Letcher County received around $9 million in grants from the Partners for Rural Impact. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox tells us how the schools plan to use the money.
Letcher County Schools is receiving 2 grants. One is a full-service community grant targeted at getting students more resources in the community. The other is a Promise Neighborhood grant, which expands academic resources for students. Combined, they are creating dozens of jobs in Letcher County.
They will provide wraparound services and work to remove any obstacle or barrier our students have in coming to school, and go as far as working on the academic side as well as the family collaboration.
After a flood that devastated communities in the county, these grants come at a near perfect time.
When our students have so many obstacles at home, being displaced, living in different areas, it is more important than ever that we have the ability to help those and meet those needs.
Letcher County Schools is not the only one receiving the grants. Jenkins Independent is also getting a chunk of the change.
We want our kids to live a safe, healthy, and happy lives as they prepare for their future, and we want them to become thriving members of our community, our county, and our state.
With graduating classes reaching up to roughly 50 students most years, expanding opportunities becomes more personal.
We're small, so we do have a family atmosphere. My son just graduated last year. My daughter will graduate this year. I've got my third daughter will enroll in kindergarten next year.
The Letcher County school systems are the first to receive both grants at the same time. In Letcher County, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Neither Letcher County school systems have completely rebuilt since the flood. Students at different grade levels are still combining in different school buildings. Martin native John C. Hall Jr. has died. Hall died Tuesday at the Willows at Hamburg and Lexington. Hall is well known for his role at the Hall Funeral Home as co-owner, funeral director, and embalmer. In his obit, Hall is said to have been a lover of all things Martin, including Martin Purple Flash, high school basketball, bluegrass music, country cooking, and Eastern Kentucky in general. Hall's family said he had a passion for helping students attend college. So to keep that passion alive, the family is asking that memorial contributions be made to the WYMT Mountain Classic Scholarship Fund. For more information about Hall's funeral arrangements or how to donate, visit WYMT.com and look for this story.
Coming up in weather, it's looking chilly for the next couple of nights, including tonight with that low near 25. Breakdown on if we could see teens in the forecast coming up. Plus,
one Pikeville police officer is back on duty after being injured nearly 6 months ago. And one elementary school is making Valentines for a soldier halfway around the world. We introduce you to some of the students behind the heartfelt cards coming up.